There's a concept in men's mind of what a man is, and men are generally not interested in discovering who they are. That's it. If you want to learn how to master sexual energy, once a male teacher said that to me, he's like, ain't got nothing to do with it's. You can be a monk, you can be a householder, that means you have one girl, or you can be a so-called, whatever, different alternative lifestyle. It doesn't matter. What matters is that whatever you're doing matches your constitution, if we can say it like this, and that you have a thorough interest in learning. And dare I say, you have some guidance. But let's put the guidance aside for now. You respect your constitution. So I have my constitution. So at some point in my life, I was trying to be the guy with the woman of his dreams. I'm telling you, that's what I thought a man was supposed to be, and I thought that's who I was supposed to be. So when I met that girl, I thought, this is it. I'm telling you, she looked at me. Well, we spent some time. We had a long-distance relationship. I went to see her a bunch of times in Sweden. I spoke about her. Then we went and traveled together. And as we got to know each other, she looked at me and she says, she was very upset at me. She had psychic powers. Anyways, it's not the point. And she was very, very upset at me. And I didn't even understand why she was upset at me. And she didn't totally understand why she was upset at me. I understood years later. But she had certain psychic abilities, and she had a weakness in communication. She didn't communicate so well. But a woman still communicates, but I didn't understand what she was saying then because I was in denial of who I was. But she was trying to point to that. And then she had her issues that made it just more, gushy. But what she was trying to point at, and she was very upset at me, she's like, this is not who you are. And I'm like, no, it's me, I'm telling you. She's like, no. You want this, and you want this, and you want this. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it didn't come out right from her mouth. It was filled with envy and jealousy and insecurity. It doesn't matter. Underneath, because it took me years to process what she was saying. Genuinely, I'm like, oh no, you knew from the start. Because she could feel me. Although I was totally believing my own persona at the time. I was like, dude, a monk lifestyle, and I was coming out of monkhood, and I was looking for the quote-unquote woman of my dreams, my partner, all this stuff, right? Here, right? And we met each other. It was a perfect time. Everything was perfectly aligned at that moment for whatever purpose it was. And I really put my heart and soul into it because I wanted it to work, because I believed in this shit. And as our relationship grew, she's like starting to like poke at me because she started to know me. I didn't know myself at all because I really believed in my character. I really, really, really believed in my character. And she was like hinting, it's like, nah, something else is there. And I didn't want nothing to do with that. I didn't want to deal with who the fuck I was. First of all, I didn't understand it. Second of all, it's so fucking deep. I was scared shitless, and rightfully so. And I was so attached to so many ideas, and the character, who and what I am, doesn't give me what I thought I wanted. See what I'm trying to say? Let's say you're a geek and you wish you were an MMA fighter so you have name, fame, and glory and you're glorified because you're an amazing killer, but your real nature is you're a lab rat. So you don't want to go towards that. This is a very shallow example of trying to depict what I'm saying. So you want to hold on to the dream that you're going to be an MMA fighter, and you're going to be, because you're attached to false ideas of yourself and false desires. Right? So I was scared because today after I've gone through the journey, I'm like, I understand why I was scared. It was very intelligent. I was scared because I had to go through a fucking journey of hell, and instinctively, deep inside, I knew it, and I didn't want to do it. And that's why I got my ass kicked multiple times. That's why my teacher kicked my ass. I had to go through hardships. It's like, no, you have to go towards what you are. So anyways, what I was saying is like, well, there's different kind of men. In every man's brain today, there's a fantasy of what they think they should be, which is what TV showed them in hip-hop videos and bullshit player nonsense. Yeah, but that's not, first of all, this is not true. It's an illusion. Second of all, you don't even know what I'm saying when I say that there's different kinds of men. You don't even understand that because all you have is an idea in your mind of what it is that you want or think you should have. Then I had to discover it as I start to discover myself, and so you reach a certain place of knowing yourself, then you express that, and then you try to find a balance there, equilibrium, and you have a certain kind of lifestyle. It's like, this is not working. Why? Because I can't thrive in such a place. Me. Yeah, but the next person can thrive very well because that's their design. Me. Because whatever I have to learn, or whatever I have to know, this kind of environment doesn't allow that for me. Me, not you. Maybe you, I don't know, it's not my problem, but me. So that's why I seldom speak about myself personally and give specific examples of myself besides past stuff, because I don't like people listening and saying, okay, I'm going to do that, because that's how it should be. As you see in the Manosphere, they present you a certain model of what masculinity is, a certain kind of model, and then guys see this and then they try to emulate this. I'm like, yeah, but let's say that this person is actually authentic. That means he's actually in alignment with himself. That's his nature. What does his nature have to do with yours? He's not teaching you to discover your nature. He's showing you, let's say he's honest. He's showing you his nature and you think that that should be yours because that's what being a man is. I'm like, that's the worst thing you can do to yourself. That person is unbeknownst to themselves misguiding you. So that's why I don't speak of myself in the present, because I'm like, no, my lifestyle is not, how I live my life ain't got nothing to do with you. I don't want you to think that what I'm doing is what it should be. I want you to discover who you are and how you're supposed to live and what's aligned for you. And that may evolve in time as you discover yourself more. But how does my lifestyle, what does me have to do with you? Nothing. But we can share one thing in common. In my case, it's like I have an interest. I don't want to say the word passion, but I'm inclined to discover, and I don't know how to say this, I don't know which. I want to discover sexual power. So that's putting me on a specific kind of path. And like I said, there's different kinds of men. So I could discover my sexual power as a monk. I'm not a monk. I was a monk. I'm partly a monk. But I'm not really a monk, but part monk. So there's different, so as long as there's an interest and then you find something that works for you, and within that arena, you discover what you got to discover. Because I'm not there, it's not, I want to have a girlfriend. It's like, no, I want to discover sexual power. And my natural inclination is monkhood. So monkhood becomes the vehicle or the asana or the posture or the exercise in which I can focus and discover my sexual power. Let's say being a householder, I mean having a steady relationship, one steady relationship, a monogamous relationship. Oh, that's an asana posture, a form in which you can discover your sexual power and who you are as a man within that context. And then there's different alternative lifestyles that also exist. The key is I want to discover my sexual power. So it's not I want to have many girls because that's manhood. Or I just want to have one woman because she's the woman of my dreams. I'm like, are you fucking gay, man? No, I want to discover sexuality. I want to discover my sexual power. I want to discover who I am as a man and where I fit. And according to who I am as a man, where I fit, to whom I belong or to what group or tribe I belong and what's my role in it, then now it starts to, okay, this is what I do. And that's how I have access to my power and communal power also. Okay, so all the rest disappears. It's nonsense. I'm not sure you'll understand what I'm trying to say, but once again, I'm going to stress this. When you look at so-called Manospherian guys or any men, you may think that this is what you should have. No. Who are you? You need to discover who you are and what's for you. If that person is in alignment, good for them. They're in alignment. You're not in alignment. And their alignment is not yours. So if you're serious about this and you really want to come into your power and you really want to discover who you are, you got to let go of ideas. We can all learn from one another in the sense that, well, learning sexual power and sexual mastership, we learn the same things. Whether you're on your own or with 1,000 women, you're going to learn whatever you got to learn because sexual power is sexual power. And at the end, you have to learn how to circulate sexual power, discover where you have leaks in your system, where you have hypercompensations or weaknesses, and you have to strengthen this so that the circuitry is perfected. What does this have to do with a woman or not a woman? Depends on who you are, your constitution, what you're designed for, what you're designed to create or participate, what you're supposed to bring to a community, and so on and so forth, which then puts you on a certain kind of path, which facilitates your growing process. All of this is if you're lucky and fortunate, under the guidance of a competent teacher who makes sure that you don't waste any time and everything is accelerated and everything becomes precise. I hope I made my point. And that you think that one is better than the other, it's because you're stupid. If a guy decides that he wants to compromise or settle for a relationship because he's a loser, yeah, if you go out and you're a player, because he's lying to himself. We're not talking about self-lying or self-delusion now. We're talking about a genuine interest in learning about sexual power, coming from a place of sincerity, and then finding an asana, a mold or a model of interaction that facilitates your learning process. The very fact that you want to learn about sexual power means you didn't cop out. It means you're not looking for mommy, even though unconsciously you may, but you want to heal that. It means you have an interest to grow in power. Great. So who cares then what's the format? The format that matches with your personality, your constitution is what you need. And that may shift until you find what's genuine. So like I said, I was on point, at some point, but I was lost and I was totally unconscious of the path I was on and I was miserable. I cannot explain how miserable I was and how miserable the girl was because it's not made like something's wrong with him. Next thing she's with a guy and they got, I don't know, married, not married, and have kids, and I'm like, well, that's what her womb was calling. I'm like, I'm not that dude, but I want to be that dude. I don't know how I'm going to be that dude because how the fuck am I going to be that dude? And she's Swedish, she's a Norwegian dude, so like white ass people with their white ass ways, and here I am, some kind of like bastard from the so-called Middle East. Not really, but from over there. I'm like, there's nothing that matches. And I'm like questioning everything. I'm a scientist of spirituality, and she just wants to live a simple life. I'm like this, and I'm trying to make it work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because you're not made for this. Period. The point is, there's not a model that is better than the other. What matters is I have an interest in learning. If you do, then you need to find the model that's appropriate for you, and then you maximize it. That's what intelligent people do. They don't waste their time trying to be something that they're not. And I assure you, each style has its advantages. The monk don't have to deal with fuck all. They have never to deal with a bitch, ever, and all the nonsense. And the so-called householder has a certain advantages. And the so-called polygamist has certain advantages. Yeah, everything has its advantages. What's your point? You don't select your model according to an advantage. You select what's your constitution so that it can facilitate my learning. Now, some people will say you're supposed to explore and do this. I don't want to get into this. The point is, you can't look towards the outside and try to emulate somebody. You are what you are. And the point of the tantric studies is that what you are unfolds. Not what you're trying to be or what you wish you were. And that's always scary. Because it's darkness, it's unknown, and it's also where the power is. And if you're genuine about it, it's going to shatter your own conceptions. It's going to shatter your conceptions of yourself, of these words. For example, I'm a monogamous person. Who wants to be in a monogamous relationship? Look at the relationships. Yeah, but look at the so-called polygamous person. Who wants to be that person? It's disgusting. And look at the so-called monogamous. It's disgusting. And look at the so-called bachelor or incel, they call them, right? It's disgusting. Yeah, because it's not true. These are not the real vehicles. These are the bastardized versions of these vehicles. So of course, if you're a little sensitive, you're like, none of this works. Yeah, because these are not true vehicles to learn about yourself and power. These are remnants of an older time, and people are just trying to compose it together, and it's disgusting. I've played all of those. It's not true.